Chapter 21. New Duties. Sobering to say the least when we met that assembly of faces. Cap waved a welcome greeting and gestured, "Take our places." There was Mars, Aunt Harmie, there was Joe, there was Figgins and Snell. In a corner was Klein, and Chris stood behind, and, hey, my brother Lime, in the shadows as well. "Well, I see we're all here," Cap said with a flourish, "for matters that concern all aboard. We've already run against pirates and won, since we left that fair town of Porto Torres. Now there needs be changes, some slight rearranges to keep the shark running her best. We've been watching you, and the rest of the crew, and we put your mettle to test. I'll start with you, Harmie. You could doctor an army, and your work in the galley does please. There are times I did doubt you and I could work out our special objectives with ease. But I hold out my hand, witnessed by every man, fast friends, when the shark nears Cadiz. More a question than demand. But Aunt Harmie took his hand, and they hugged each other there in Willem's cabin. We were all just sitting there, couldn't help but stare. I'd bet more than one eye needed dabbing. I have some ideas on the things you would have. The readings, the Lord's Day, the Friday night baths. I think we can manage most, as you say. I'm willing to try if you meet me halfway. Just one more thing, I expect you and all the crew as well." He included Figgins, Joe, and Snell. "I mean you and you and you. We all need to show respect." Cap next went on to Klein. Said they had a job in mind, seemed to be suited best. Put him up in Crow's Nest. Klein said, "Sure." It suited just fine. He had a keen eye anyway, and such a pleasant way to spend the day. The next to feel the captain's mind was my little brother Lime. "You've done quite well, fourth-class Jack Dusty. Proved your worth, lad. Very trusty. But now, I want you here at my headquarters. I'll give you your marching orders. You'll become like my right arm, starting 6 bells in the morn."
"Wow!"
said Lime.
"What does that mean?"
"To be seen, lad, to be seen. And just remember, lad, whatever you do, 200 eyes are watching you." Lime's face went from sheer delight to one of abject terror. Chris whispered, "Captain says you're very bright. You'll be his standard bearer. Says you represent him how, when, and wherever." Came another whisper. "Wow!" Cap Willem wrinkled up his brow. "Now, Chris, I'll put you under Snell, checking out the riggins. But if and when we're battle-bound, well, hustle o'er to Figgins. In battle, you're under his command to do as he demands." When it came time for me, I was in a state of reverie. Cap brought me back to reality. He had a way. "We, that is Snell, Joe, Mars, and I, have decided to give you a try at reading maps and charts and such. As Mars has said, won't take too much. Just need some math, geometry, logbooks, how to write and read, avoid disaster, compass reading, get our bearings by the stars, wind and sail speed, sound and depths, currents, channels, all the rest. Arrive at destination without disaster. The simple duties of a sailing master." Said I, "I'm game, sir." Said Mars, "The same, sir." "I'm not," said Cap, "quite finished yet. Still one more we haven't met. This young lady came aboard at the behest of a sword. Now De Lebec agrees with me. 'Twill not be only he, but she. She's the one person, and I fear I must ask her, to prepare this young privateer, with his flintlock pistol hanging here, from a very unschooled near disaster into a well-refined sailing master." Said she, "I'm game, sir." said I. "The same, sir." "Any thoughts, suggestions, questions?" said Mars. "Ha, lad, lass, a new world beckons." Cap said, "Until tomorrow, then?" Aunt Harmy simply said, "Amen." And we all filed out of his chambers. A day I will remember. Chapter 22, What It Takes. I rolled from my bunk, threw trousers on, ran down the deck just before dawn. As I trotted toward the bridge, at my new home of sorts, I was met by a midge wearing green shirt and shorts. "Why such a hurry?" I asked my bro Lime.
"Morning, Morgan. Haven't got time."
I watched as his small green behind sped away. Then I yawned, stretched, paused. Some gulls were at play. Then I knocked on Mars' door to start my new day. Mars bellowed a hearty, "Enter!" Stood tall as I can, put on my most manly man, went in, shook hands with my new mentor. I'd imagined it organized in a neat desk and chair. Mars sitting there, mug of something hot, perhaps whiskey, perhaps not, and a brass spittoon at his feet. On a shelf, maybe 5 or 6 books, walls adorned with charts and maps, perhaps a telescope for looks. Perhaps, perhaps not. Well, Mars had warned me, I guess, said his place was quite a mess, but I wasn't prepared for what I found. When I shook his hand, looked around, everywhere books were scattered. 'Twas the definition of being cluttered. There was not one empty spot. No, not even on his cot. Shelves jammed with huge logbooks, every cranny, every nook. Scraps of canvas on the floor, and on the tables more. Looked like nothing in here mattered. And with my jubilation shattered, my head said, "Turn around." But Mars de Lebec gave me a smile. Said, "I've lived in here a while." Spirit within said, "Be content. Don't let him see your disappointment." So I smiled back instead, and in a manly voice I said, "Teach me how to sail." "Ah, yes," said Mars. "Where are we going in this ship of ours? How many weeks, days, and hours?" "First things first, young man. Let's understand the complexities of the chain of command upon the seas. Most important post is this, right up there with Cap's. Not for bragging or for fame like his, but more satisfying, perhaps. You got to get to know the sea, her currents, depths, and such. You feel her breathe beneath your feet, and she feels you just as much. Times I've walked out on the decks, now all you see is water, but times I see an angry wench, or perhaps her placid daughter. I've sailed the Med on many a ship, from dhows up to 3 masters. I've sat in windless seas for days, in typhoons, seen disasters. I know the trades, the westerlies, the north, the south, and gone. When not to sail, which winds prevail. I could go on and on. Name it, lad. As the shepherd knows his land, I know the Med. She's written on my hand. And this is speaking of just the seas. There's the sky, the stars as well. You'll learn all this with expertise, all this material. The charts, the maps, son. Just perhaps, by the time this trip is done, and the shark is safely home, barring unforeseen disaster, you'll be on your way under my purvey to becoming a sailing master. By the time old Mars had finished, I was filled with admiration, a bit as well distinguished by his profound expectation. Now I really had the jitters. Why me, Mars? I'll do my best. I ain't no quitter, but others must have been more qualified. De Lebec just shrugged and sighed. Cap's in charge. Now, before our light starts failing, see that shelf up in the gable? Grab that logbook. Number 9. That's the one. Yep, that's fine. push that faddle off the table and on to the business of sailing. We're making about 2 knots or better. Oh, and grab that map. Spread it out on the table. That's a good chap. Now, we've headed for Genoa. See it? See where we are? Dead reckoning says we should be here, but we're south and east of there. Mars was pointing with his sword all the time that he was talking. I hung on to every word. Dead reckoning? First I'd ever heard. Rosanna Lynn about that time appeared. Stood in the doorway, gawking. Ah, young lady, do come in. We've just begun a lesson. You'll do well to stay as well, for this and every session.
I've hot rice and beans, she laughed, straight from Harmy's kettle. But I see a spot near fore nor aft. I can't lay them on the table.
Just so. Oh, here, lad. Let's move this truck from off the cot. There now. That's not too bad. Let's see just what the young miss brought. Lunch over and on the deck, Mars carried some weird instruments. These are valuable indeed for mariners of every breed. I'd noticed them with him before, but never knew what they were for. On a platform, flat, one tool he laid. This is called an astrolabe. And here's another one you want, called, right enough, a quadrant. You see, the sky is like a great big clock. Every minute it goes tick-tock. Now, with every tick, a star goes round. And we can't see it from the ground, but some smart man a long time ago, I suppose 'twas God that let him know. Anyway, I guess he found that at the year's end, that star had ticked all the way around. What'd it do? Why, it started over again. So, with these instruments of ours, we can find our position relative to the sun and stars, measuring angles from the horizon. If we know the time of day, we won't go too far astray. Of course, we need a good compass and a windsock, or we could find ourselves way, way off. I understand the angle of water to sun, but at night, the stars, Mars, which one? Ah, excellent question you've brought forth. North, lad, north. And some other stars or constellations, but we'll discuss all that in your education. So, we took a sighting of the sun. Mars showed me where to write it down. In the logbook, number 9. I heard him mumble, "Ah, you'll do fine." About that time along came Lime. Mars gave him a paper, and away I saw him caper. You make entries every hour? Not always, sometimes only every 3. Check previous pages, there you see. The log was a complete diary of every day we'd been at sea. Why, each day had 20 lines and more. Old de Lebec had quite a chore. The readings of the sun, the stars, the plotting on the map by Mars, the diligence so profound, so meticulous in writing down. Then suddenly I saw it clear. My spirit bosun felt quite near. Hadn't thought it through before, and my appreciation soared. For Mars, for Cap, for Snell, the others. No longer child, I'd become a brother. Rosanna Lynn looked at my face, realized the change. Something wrong? You look amazed. No, I said, no, I'm fine. Just rearranged. Mars, what's our bearing now, and what's our course of action? I had an idea, and it brought satisfaction. Well, our reading at noon, my young friend, shows us getting back on track again. Should be perfect soon, but we are one day behind. Have something in mind? Oh, in looking at the map, I see Nice with Genoa east. I thought perhaps heading northwest by some 10 degrees, then ride the trade winds back. We'd end up northeast, pretty close to Genoa at least. Young son, I've been looking, and you could be the one. You may have what it takes to make just what we're after. A genuine apprentice sailing master.